Welcome everybody. I am Fire Medic Jeff Heinrich with the Overland Park Fire Department, and today we're here with Mitch Walden, who is a resident of Overland Park. And Mitch had the opportunity to use his CPR skills on a call in July of this year, and we're here to spend some time with Mitch to help him tell his story about the importance of CPR. So, Mitch, welcome to the Fire Training Center.
Thanks for having me.
First, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am 20 years old. I am a student at Kansas State University right now, and this summer I have been working an internship at a local church that I attend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so we had the opportunity to meet just briefly, but tell us about the events of the activities of your church group and what happened a little bit that day.
Yeah, so normally our church group has events on Friday evenings to gather our middle school and high school students to have some sort of fun activity apart from our typical programming. And so that week we went to one of our congregation members' homes for a pool party with our middle school students and a couple high school students. As the event was beginning in the first 5 or 10 minutes, I was about to go get in the pool and was notified by a couple students that one of our other students was on the bottom of the pool and seemed to not be breathing or coming back up. And so we quickly jumped into action. The two younger boys dove down and pulled him off the bottom of the pool, and I had to swim him to the side and with some help of my coworkers got him up on the side of the pool and administered CPR.
Great. Now tell us a little bit, I know you're a Boy Scout, or you were a Boy Scout. Tell us a little bit about the CPR training that you've ever had and what was going through your mind.
Yeah, the training was mostly when I was in middle school and early high school for Boy Scouts. I took the Life-Saving Merit Badge and another Swimming Merit Badge where they taught us both of those. They taught us CPR in both of those settings. There was a babysitting class my mom made me take also at one point when I was young that I learned it but did not, that was not what I was reminded of in that moment. And so that was kind of my experience, and that had been 5 or 6 years since I'd really had an in-depth class about it. But it did stick with me well enough that I was reminded of clear images of those classes in the moment. And I had a general idea of what I was supposed to be doing.
And so CPR classes, they're offered pretty regularly, but it's been a few years since you had your last class. Were you comfortable doing with what you had to do? What made you decide to engage and help another citizen?
I was very shaken up and scared in the moment, but I took survey of the other people there and realized I don't think anybody else here knows how to do CPR. We had 3 or 4 other adult leaders, and I had a pretty good idea that they didn't know what they were doing because they weren't jumping into action. And so I figured I'm the one who knows it best. I'll do my best. I for sure know how to do compressions, and I think I can do the breath right. And sure enough, I did. And so, it was nerve-wracking and scary, but in the moment, I felt comfortable doing it because it seemed to be what was necessary and it needed to be done. And so that jumped me into action.
Now, Lieutenant Webster and I actually have the call notes from this incident, but it was dispatched as a Code 1 drowning or diving accident, and I imagine from our perspective things move very quickly, but when you're there being the rescuer and waiting for 911 to respond, how fast did time move for you? It
was, I don't know, fast and slow. And in some ways, I had a million thoughts going through my head. And so it seemed like I was doing CPR it felt like 20 minutes, but it was really a matter of a minute and a half, not even. Also, it felt like as I was doing CPR, I could already hear the sirens. And so it seemed like it was moving quickly because everything was happening so fast, but at the same time, so many thoughts were running through my head. It felt like so long.
Well, when the ambulance first arrived and the police department arrived, the victim was already out of the pool. And by the time we were able to do our initial assessments, you had already been able to get the patient breathing and get his heart started again. So we actually were focusing on other things. But you did the most important part, which is compressions. And so could you just tell us a little bit about, even though it's been several years since you've had the training, what was the training like back when you took it versus what it's actually like to perform CPR on somebody? Are there any similarities, any differences, and any messages you would have to anybody else who's maybe thinking about taking CPR but isn't for sure.
I think for the most part, it was pretty similar. The big difference for me was there was some foaming at the mouth and some other it's just a scary image to see a real person that is already unconscious like that. So for me, it was difficult, and I was so scared that I didn't take a long time to find a pulse. I couldn't really find one, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do this because he looks very unconscious. And so that was one thing for me that I always knew I struggled to find a pulse. So I was nervous about, but I figured we needed to take action. Other than that, the compressions, the training was exactly the same. You have a body and a chest, and you just put your hands there and do staying alive 30 times. And that was exactly the same amount of pushback I had on the dummy that I used in the class was very accurate to what I was doing there. And then I was comfortable tilting the head back and plugging the nose and giving the breaths. That was seemed to be exactly what I practiced. The scary part was there's just some different reactions that happen from the patient that you don't get from the training.
Sure. And was the song Staying Alive running through your head?
It was, yeah. I was trying to stay on rhythm there.
That's great. And so we know that it took about a minute worth of compressions and breaths, but you were able to get the victim's heart started again, and he started breathing and had a very successful outcome. So we just wanted to say thank you for being an engaging and willing person to perform CPR in our community. And so you live in Overland Park, and you were in Overland Park when it happened, but these kind of skills can happen anywhere. It may be needed anywhere, any kind of different situation. So has anything changed your mind about engaging or being able to perform CPR again?
I am for sure way more confident in my abilities, and I would not have known, after the class I would not have maybe felt as confident in my abilities, but after being in the moment, the class did prepare me enough. And so I would just encourage any person that any way you can take the class is doing more than not taking the class. It's really helpful just to have, even if it's way back in your memory many years ago. That's better than nothing. And so making some form of effort to learn these skills is really, really important, and it'll do a lot more than you think.
Great. So it's been several years. You're 20 now, so you're maybe 15 the time you took your last class. And the essential components and the skills of CPR really don't change much. Maybe some of the numbers and the guidelines do, but the essential skills and the compressions always stay the same. So that's great information. Well, Mitch, thank you for coming in to spend some time with us and tell us your story. And good luck to you for the rest of your studies there at K-State.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, thank you.